Hello YouTube, it's very early, I think is the term for it, but we're going through all of the cards in the M15 card list. We were going to be showing you what we were doing behind the scenes as well, mixing the videos together, but we've had technical difficulties, we can't get it sorted and it won't be ready in time for the pre-release, so we just thought we'd talk at the camera. You can go to Gatherer and have a look at the cards we're looking at along with us if you want to, or you can just play us in the background while you're doing other bits and pieces. We've done all the other colours so far, so we're now on to, we're going to cover multicoloured, we're going to cover artefacts, and we're going to cover lands. I think that'll be all of them done then. So we're going to crack on, and we're going to start with multicoloured. So if you go to Gatherer, go to M15, put them into colour order, go right to the end, and then we're going to start after the greens finish off and do the multicoloured. Okay then, Thraice?
Okay, so first up we have the last of the planeswalkers for this set, Garruk, Apex Predator.
Do you mean Randy Orton?
Yeah, I think so. He is 5 colourless, 1 black, 1 green, planeswalker Garruk. He comes into play with 5 loyalty counters. +1, destroy another target planeswalker.
Oh.
Obviously, not a bad little loyalty ability. One of the few abilities to directly affect Planeswalker that Wizards are now starting to slowly put into MTG. His next loyalty ability is another +1. Put a 3/3 black beast creature token with Death Touch onto the battlefield. Pretty nice. Very similar to his old ability, but this time it's got Death Touch.
Yeah.
Great ability. -3, destroy target creature, you gain life equal to its toughness. Another great ability. Even at -3, gaining life and killing creature. Brilliant. -8, target opponent gets an emblem with whenever a creature attacks you, it gets +5/+5 and gains trample until end of turn. Quite a fun ultimate. Can make a lot of creatures really big and really kill your opponent. Again, you don't often get to the ultimate on Planeswalkers, but it's nice to have it there just in case. The real drawback to Garruk, though, is the steep mana cost. Now, green is obviously very good at mana ramp, even in other colours, but it's a long way to go to get to him. Admittedly, once you've got him in play, he's vicious. He's really powerful. He makes his own really efficient blockers to stop himself from getting beaten up. So you get him into play, he's going to cause serious damage to your opponent.
Yeah, I think the issue is going to be, by the time you've got 7 mana playing, there's other more effective cards that you can play in green or in black in place of him. That doesn't mean you're then trudging through his +1 and stuff like that. I think he's very pretty, he's lovely, and in standard I think he's going to go down a treat. But I think in limited, playing on the pre-release, I think if anyone plays him, good luck to you, but I think you might be shooting yourself in the foot where you could replace that with something a bit more powerful.
Yeah.
Although the fact that you dropped a Garruk during a pre-release,
it's going to make people turn their heads.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, cool. Well, we like that a lot.
Yeah. Very
useful card. Now, the only other multicoloured card we got is another mythic rare, and this is a Slither Hivelord. This is a 5 mana cost, and that's 1 of each colour. It's a legendary creature, and it's a Slither. Slither creatures you control have indestructible. Something tells me that this was possibly invented for EDH. Playing Commander with a Slither Hivelord as your commander would be amazing. That means you can play anything. You can go back, get every single Slither that you can find, put that in your deck. The rest of it is all thinning spells and stuff like that. Could be a really, really fun deck. Yeah, really, really interesting. I really like that.
Yeah, he's great. Fits in well with Slither Overlord and Slither Queen.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Lovely. Right. Oh, it's your turn next.
So, next up we have Avarice Amulet. 4 colourless artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has vigilance, and at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card. When equipped creature dies, target opponent gains control of Avarice Amulet. Its equip cost is 2 colours. So it's quite a nice little equipment card, giving +2/+2 vigilance and allows you to draw lots of cards. The drawback, of course, being if your opponent manages to remove a creature, they get hold of the Avarice Amulet. Quite fun, makes it bounce between people. Let's say you're playing a big Commander game or any other sort of multiplayer format game. Means that the Amulet could bounce between a lot of different players, so it's fun. Just don't know how terribly useful it could be.
Yeah, I think it could be a lot of fun, but if you're playing to win, might make things a little bit difficult, especially with a 6 cost after casting and equipping. Okay, next up they go into a land which is Battlefield Forge. This is a tap for add colourless mana, or tap add red or white to your mana pool, but it deals you 1 damage.
Yeah.
So these we've seen before, haven't we?
It's great to see the Pain lands back. It's been a long time.
Very useful.
That's nostalgic.
Especially if you're playing white, it's not too much of a problem because you're going to have a lot of life gain in there. Could be quite handy. Gives you another option as well for, in standard, playing multicolour cards and stuff like that. We've now got the gates, we've got the dual lands, we've got the shock lands, and now we've got pain lands. So you really can mix it up. The cynic of me kind of makes it feel a little bit like they're really aiming for the sale after sale price, singles price for tickets on the dual lands and things like that. Magic Wizards of the Coast are finding a way to kind of undermine the cost a little bit.
I suppose I don't really think the pain lands are going to affect the extra cost, because the problem, the good thing about the pain lands is that secondary cost wise, they're actually a really good budget way for people to buy into Modern and Legacy to a point, because they do the same, very similar effects of dual lands, but they don't do it as well. They cause you pain, and you can't search them because they don't have land types themselves.
Yeah.
But it means that they go for a lot less on the secondary market, and will allow you as players, especially you new players, to get into more difficult formats for a lot less money. But I mean, we'll see. I might be completely wrong. They might completely change the prices.
It's cool. Okay, so you're next up.
So next up we have Brawler's Plate. 3 colourless artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has trample. And its equip cost is 4 colours. So it's an interesting bit of equipment. It gives +2/+2 and trample, which is nice. It costs 3 to play, which is nice, but its equip cost is 4, which is quite steep. So it's reasonably balanced. I think it might see play because, you know, equipment's always useful.
I would put it into my green mana ramp deck because you're playing 4, you're going to get +2/+2 onto a fatty, and it gains trample. So I would be quite happy to pay that really steep price to give one of my big guys another edge and make it trampable.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, next up is the Bronze Sable, which is a 2 colourless for an artifact creature 2/1. I think that's a pretty fair cost. It's 2 mana of any colour, so it doesn't matter what you're playing and what you're splashing, and it's going to give you a 2/1. So I don't think you could get any better than that, really, not
Nice,
for that
efficient,
cost.
and you can play it in any colour. So next up we have another pain land, Caves of Koilos. Non-basic land, tap to add 1 colour to your mana pool, tap to add white or black to your mana pool. Caves of Koilos deals 1 damage to you. Same as before, brilliant land. This time it's a nice enemy colour land. That's really efficient.
Yeah. No, I like it. That's really good. We've talked about the pain lands, so I think we can just skip on to the next one. The next one is another land, and this is an artifact land, Dark Steel Citadel. It's indestructible, and it's got tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Lovely. We like it. It would work really, really well with Nissa, where she makes the 4/4 creature. It would then be a 4/4 indestructible creature.
Yeah.
So
brilliant, and it works really well for effects that have to have artifacts in play to do so, because it's an artifact that's not really going to go anywhere.
No. Really good card. I can see it getting a lot of play, to be perfectly honest.
Played in modern deck, robot/affinity. It's good.
Yeah.
Next up we have Evolving Wilds, another non-basic land. Tap, sacrifice Evolving Wilds, search library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Nice basic mana fixing card. allows you to thin your deck a bit, and yeah, if you're playing more than one colour, allows you to fix up your land base.
Yeah, it can be one of anything. So if you're only splashing a little bit, maybe a couple of planes, something like that, it really does mean that you can go and grab those, what you need when you need it. Not so much in standard, I don't think, but maybe a little bit of Friday Night Magic play, and definitely I would put it into your pre-release decks, because it really does help to fix that mana up next. And sweet. So then we're going to skip the next one, which is just a basic forest land, and we're on to Gargoyle Sentinel, which is a 3-drop for an artifact creature, 3/3 with Defender, and you can pay 3 mana to take away the Defender and give it flying. I think this is a beautiful card. 3-drop for a 3/3. Alright, you're tied up with that Defender, but a little bit later on you can just get rid of it, and it's all of any colour, so anything that you're playing for.
Yeah, nice, exactly. Fits in any colour, efficient creature, I agree.
Yeah, good card. Right.
So next up we have Grind Clock. 2 colourless artifact, tap, put a charge counter on Grind Clock, tap 2, tap it again, tap target, sorry, it's very late / early, tap, target player puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is the number of charge counters on Grind Clock. So it's another grind, so a bit like Millstone, Grindstone, all that sort of thing. It allows you to mill your opponent. It's just a slower way of doing it.
Plus side is you're not losing those counters when you tap it as well to make them mill. So you can either wait until they've got a lot, or kind of mill now and then go, oh, actually I'll put another counter on it next time. So
yeah, not bad.
A nice card. If you're going for a mill deck, and don't forget, pre-release wise, this is a 40 card deck. This isn't 60, so there's, once they've already done their draw, they're down to 33 cards. A bit of milling can go a long way in a limited game, so keep that in mind if you're playing blue. Okay, next up we've got Haunted Plate Mail. This is a 4 mana cost artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/+4. For a 0 cost until end of turn, Haunted Mailplate becomes a 4/4 spirit artifact creature that's no longer an equipment. Activate this ability only if you control no creatures. Very useful card. Its equip cost is 4, so it's quite expensive. It's a 4 to play it, 4 to use it, but your 4/4 spirit, even though it doesn't have flying, is still for free if you've got no other creatures on the battlefield. So I quite like that card. That's quite a useful card.
Next up is Hot Soup. 1 colourless artifact equipment. Equipped creature can't be blocked. Whenever equipped creature is dealt damage, destroy it. Equip cost of 3. So it's a really good way to stop people being able to block your creature. The only drawback, of course, being that if they have direct damage, it's not going to be so helpful for it. And its equip cost is quite steep. It's an interesting card.
Yeah, we have talked about in other videos in this series about making creatures unblockable and stuff like that. It's a cheap way of doing it. I mean, it's 4 mana at the end of the day to make it unblockable, and then of course you've got the ping ability that if it gets hit by anything, it's gone, but you still get to keep your equipment. So I would say it's quite handy.
Not bad. It's got some good uses.
I would probably splash it just for a bit of a laugh and see what I can do. Next up we've got an island, so we'll skip that one. That's just your basic. Then we have Juggernaut, which is a 4-drop for a artifact creature. Juggernaut 5/3. It attacks each turn if able. Can't be blocked by walls. So this is quite a standard card. Not a bad payoff. 4 of any colour, so that's really useful for a 5/3. That's quite good. And if your opponents are using walls, it goes straight through them. Can't be blocked.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good.
That's a nice efficient creature. I'd draft it. Next up we have another Pain Land, once again enemy colours, Llanowar Wastes. Taps for 1 of either black or green, or tap, and then it does 1 damage to you, or it can tap for 1 colour so it doesn't do damage to you.
Talk about the Pain Land, so that's easy enough.
Pretty good, same as the others.
Then we've got Meteorite, which is 5 colours artifact. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. I like this card. It's quite expensive to get out, but if you're going to go mana fixing, it's quite a useful card. I mean, yeah, would probably be happier with a lower cost, maybe. but you're doing the 2 direct damage. So
It's quite a fun card that's in keeping with its own sort of background. It's a meteorite. It comes into play and does damage. Kind of cool.
yeah, you could use it as a bit of removal.
Yeah.
Be quite good.
So we'll skip the mountain and we move on to our next card. Obelisk of Erd. 6 colourless mana artifact with Convoke. As Obelisk of Erd enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control with the chosen type get +2/+2. Well, earlier on we've seen a number of different tribes trying to make us at least a small comeback. There are slivers, there are goblins, there are Kithkin, and right here we can give them all +2/+2.
And insects.
And insects, yeah. And you can convoke it into play quicker using those creature types.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And any creatures can tap for colourless mana, so I don't think that would take long to get out at all, giving your creature types +2/+2.
Yeah.
Really useful, and I think this might be a kind of picture into what we'll be getting in the next sets coming up. Then we've got an old favourite of mine, Ornithopter, which is a 0-drop artifact creature for a 0/2 with flying. This can be really, really handy in early game. If people have got 1/1 flyers, bits and pieces like this is going to ping them off, not worry about it. And then later on, you boost it. And we can even talk about the card that we've just seen, and the creature types could be artifact creatures. So this now becomes a 2/4 for nothing with flying. That is a threat right there. Really good card. I do like it, but maybe I'm just a little bit biased.
So next up we have Perilous Vault. This is 4 colourless mana artifact. Tap 5 colourless mana and exile Perilous Vault. Exile all non-land permanents. Very quick reboot the game, shall we? So you got yourself a good hand, your opponent's got no hand. Use this, everything goes away. Now I'll start playing stuff out. Not bad.
Nah,
Quite
that could
fun.
really mess with someone's game plans and stuff like that. It'd be a really, really good card. Okay, next up we've got Phyrexian Revoker, which is a 2-drop colourless artifact creature horror 2/1. As it enters the battlefield, name a non-land card. Activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated. Really, really useful, especially if you know what your opponent's playing. 2-drop for a 2/1. That's alright because it's colourless. You're not really going to argue with that. You can definitely play it on second turn if you've got 2 of any type of land in your hand. So
I'm really happy to see it coming back. It's a great sideboard card for all constructed levels, standard, modern, whatever. It's brilliant. It's like Pithy Needle but with a body on it. Great card. Nice to see it back.
we'll skip the planes.
So next up we have Profane Memento. 1 colourless artifact. Whenever a creature card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you gain 1 life. Not bad. So whenever you kill creatures, you get 1 life. If they have to discard creatures, you get 1 life. Or if they use an ability that means they have to mill those creatures, you get 1 life.
Very useful in the mill deck.
Yeah.
Very useful. Right, then next up we've got Radiant Fountain, which is non-basic land. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life, and it adds 1 colourless mana to your mana pool. Nice little card.
Yeah.
2 life for 0. Could be quite handy. Only gives you colourless mana, so you might want to think about that in your mana fixing if you do play it.
Yeah. Not bad land. So next up we have Rogue's Gloves. 2 colourless mana, artifact equipment. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Equip, 2 colours. Not bad. Allows you to draw cards. If you've got a creature that's already got some sort of evasion, you can draw lots of cards. Doesn't buff your creature, but still, drawing cards are never bad.
No, it's always useful, especially if playing green, something like that. Maybe even just something small that's flying over can be quite handy. Alright, you're chipping away with 1-2 damage, something like that every turn, but you're also getting a draw off it. Very, very handy. Next up, we've got Sacred Armour, which is a 2 colourless artifact. Pay 2 colourless, target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. I can see that being quite handy, especially in limited for your pre-release and stuff like that. It's a nice little card that's just going to give you that little extra boost that people aren't expecting.
Just forces through some extra damage, and that's always helpful. So next up we have Scuttling Doom Engine. 6 colourless artifact creature, construct, 6/6. Scuttling Doom Engine can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. When Scuttling Doom Engine dies, it deals 6 damage to target opponent. So what we've got here is a nice creature, really good size for its mana cost, and it's really difficult for your opponent to chop block with it. They can't use little creatures to do it. And it's going to kill pretty much anything of 3 power or more, unless it's particularly huge, which is great. And if your opponent does manage to kill the Scuttling Doom Engine, you then deal 6 damage straight to their face. I like this guy. Colourless, you can play him in any colour deck. He's a good pick.
Yeah, I think if you get him, you're going to have to put him in whatever you play.
Yeah.
Just that's your bomb right there for any coloured deck. Can't be blocked. You can't chump block it. You've got to feed it big creatures. You buff it a little bit, and you've got yourself a real winner there.
Really hard to kill.
Right, next up we've got Shield of the Avatar, which is a 1-drop colourless artifact equipment. If a source would deal damage to a equipped creature, prevent X of that damage, where X is the number of creatures you control. Equip cost of 2. This will be awesome in token decks or green mana ramp decks, stuff like that. Red goblin decks, things like that.
Yeah.
You've got one creature that is just going to be unstoppable.
Really hard to kill, if not impossible to kill. Yeah. Next up we have another Painland, Shivan Reef. So it makes colourless mana for no damage, or it makes blue or red for 1 damage. Same as before, great card. Great card. Nice ally colour.
Then next up we have got Sliver Hive, which is non-basic land. Add 1 colourless mana to your mana pool, or add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast a Sliver spell, or pay 5, tap it, put a 1/1 colourless Sliver creature token onto the battlefield. Activate this ability only if you control a Sliver. Right, we need to discuss this card. This is what is going to make playing a Sliver deck viable on pre-release. You would have to be really lucky though. You'd have to draw 4 of these, plus a lot of slivers to make it viable. When you're paying 5 mana to tap it and put a colourless Sliver onto the battlefield, that's a bit expensive, but considering when you get to that stage, you're buffing it immensely with all the other bits and pieces.
Yeah, I think slivers are so efficient as creatures, even a 1/1 sliver can make or break play. So I think that's why they've priced it so high.
Yeah.
You've got to.
And don't forget also, we've got a little while M15 and M14 are together at the same time.
Yeah.
So you've got all the slithers from the M14 deck, plus all these slithers is going to go together quite nicely. And for a little while, I think for a month, Friday Night Magic could be ruled by slithers if people were that evil. I don't think they are.
So next up we have the last of the Soul Cycle. Soul of New Phyrexia. 6 colourless mana, artifact creature avatar. 6/6, trample. Pay 5 colours. Permanents you control gain indestructible to end of turn. Or pay 5 colours, exile Soul of New Phyrexia from your graveyard. Permanents you control gain indestructible end of turn. This is my personal favourite Soul. It's colourless, so you can play it in any colour deck. It's 6/6 with trample, which is great. And for 5 mana, you can make all permanents you control indestructible. Not just creatures, not just lands, all permanents. I love this guy. I want to draw one.
Mythic rare, so good luck. But
I'll try. Come on, RNGesus.
it's going to be good. Yeah, really powerful card. Like all the other souls, it's so worth it. You're paying 6 mana for a 6/6 with an ability. This is where we're getting the trample from. That's why we didn't get trample in the green one. We had a reach for the green one because they've given it to the artifact creature, which is fair enough. And then you've got this 5 for indestructible is just disgusting. You get a board wipe card and
Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant.
life's good. Okay, so moving on now, we're into staffs. So they've re-released all the staffs again. First of all, we have the Staff of Death Magus, which is the black one, 3 colourless mana artifact. When you cast a black spell or a swamp enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Yeah, if you're playing those colours, play it.
Useful.
It's worth it.
Fun.
Always got these cards coming out in different sets.
Next we have Staff of the Flame Magus. Exactly the same thing, but this time it's red spells or mountains. Same as before. Useful if you're playing red.
Yep, and then we have Mind Magus, which is the blue or islands, plus 1 life.
Then we have Staff of the Sun Magus, which is white spells or plains.
And then we have Staff of the Wild Magus, which is green spells or forests.
Skipping the swamp. We then have the Chain Veil. something a lot of people have been waiting for. It's been quite big in the background and lore of Magic now for a little bit. It is a 4 colourless mana legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't activate a loyalty ability of a Planeswalker this turn, you lose 2 life. Pay 4 colours and tap it. For each Planeswalker you control, you may activate one of its loyalty abilities once this turn, as though none of its loyalty abilities have been activated this turn. So, for each Planeswalker you control, you can activate their loyalty abilities twice. Now you've still got to up or lower the amount of loyalty counters on it, so you can't cast, say, their ultimate for free, but it still allows you to get to the ultimate that much quicker, taking some opponents by surprise. So you can put that last dot on and then activate the ultimate in the turn.
And if you're making a Planeswalker deck, you've got a Ajani there. So you could get to one Planeswalker's ultimate in one turn, or the second turn. So you play Ajani's ability twice, which means they get +2 onto their ability. Then you play one of their +1s, that's +3. Some of the Planeswalkers start with 5 and have an ultimate of 8. So you could play their ultimate the second turn they're out if you play it right. Very, very good card.
It's a lot of fun, at least. And everybody likes Planeswalkers, so everybody likes spells that buff Planeswalkers.
I don't see it getting a lot of play outside of high competition standard or further up into Legacy and stuff like that, because people aren't going to be able to afford enough Chain Veils to make it a viable card in their deck. I mean, also, you've got to think this is a legendary, so you can't play more than one.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to either know where it is and be able to go and get it, or you've got to take that hit of having the rest of them that you've got in your hand and not being able to play them because they would cancel each other out.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting card. Yeah, maybe if you got this, if you were lucky enough to pull this and a Planeswalker, then yeah, you're going to play them. But I don't see the probability of that happening on a pre-release would be very, very high.
Luckiest packs in the world.
Okay, so next up we've got Tomoid's Crypt, which is a 0 cost artifact. Tap it, sacrifice it, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Very, very handy card if people are playing Necromancy decks. Always worth sideboarding. I'm really glad they've reprinted this because it's a useful card. If you come across someone playing black or something, it can really mess with their game flow and yeah, can give you the win basically.
Great card. So next up we have Tyrant's Machine, 2 colourless artifact. Pay 4 colours and tap it. Tap target creature. Yeah, it's a lot to pay just to tap down one creature, when in other sets and blocks you'll find white creatures that do it for 1 white mana. Still can be useful, of course. It stops one of your opponent's big creatures hitting you in the face, or taps down blockers so that you can hit them in the face. So it's not a terrible card, it's just quite steeply priced for its effect.
But it's a common, so that's why it's so expensive. We said it before in other videos. You play it on your pre-release, put it in your deck. If you like it, when you get into standard, go and have a look for a card that does it more effectively, because there will be something that you'll be able to do that will do it better. But you might find it quite useful in a limited game. Right, next up we've got Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Yawgmoth?
Yeah, Yawgmoth.
Which is a legendary land, so you can only play the one of them. Each land is a swamp in addition to its other land types. So this means if you've got Swamp Walk, it's lovely.
Yeah. It's actually one of my favourite land cards, and I've played it myself in a few decks that have got me pretty far in some major tournaments. It's still played in some modern and I think some legacy decks. It's brilliant. It helps you to fix your own mana base because it makes all of your land swamps in addition to their base as well. So if you're playing black plus other colours, like let's say you're playing a Jund deck, you can tap your mountains for black mana or red mana because they count as both. Same with your forest, etc. Brilliant card, and as you say, the added bonus, Swamp Walk creatures love it.
So useful card. I don't think we saw any Swamp Walk in the black.
No, I don't think so.
No, so maybe not so useful in limited, but it will definitely get a lot of play in standard.
So next up we have Will Forged Golem, 6 colourless mana, artifact creature golem, 4/4 with Convoke. So potentially a great creature that you can play for a low mana cost if you can convoke enough things out. Otherwise, steep mana cost for a 4/4 creature with no abilities.
We've talked about the Convoke in other videos and stuff like that, and I think this is pretty balanced for what they've been doing with Convoke. It looks like a high cost, but if you can tap a few creatures to get it out, you could even get it for free if you've got enough tokens going around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So nothing for a 4/4 because you've tapped down a couple of creatures isn't really too much of an issue. Right, next up we've got the last Pain Land and the last card of the set. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, so over to you, Thraice.
Yavimaya Coast.
There we go. That's the green and blue Pain Land. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed it. We are shattered, and we'll see you playing.
Thanks, guys. Until next time.
Check out the rest of the videos.